You have handled everything yourself every time. You are proud of that. But look at what it has cost you, and ask whether the price was ever actually yours to pay alone. Welcome to the Stoic Compass. I am Epictetus, and today I am joined by Carl Jung and LAOZI. Today we are examining why do strong people still need help, and what stops them from asking. Let us start with what is actually happening here. A person has a real problem. There are people in their life who could help, and instead of asking, they suffer quietly and call it strength. That is not strength. That is a story they are telling themselves so they do not have to feel vulnerable. The Stoics did not say handle everything alone. They said know what is yours to control. Your pride is not the same thing as your virtue. And confusing the two is costing you more than you know.
I would not dismiss the pride so quickly. What looks like pride from the outside is often something much older on the inside. When I have sat with patients who could not ask for help, it was rarely arrogance driving them. It was fear, buried under a very convincing performance of competence. The persona, the mask of capability, becomes so thick over time that the person wearing it genuinely forgets there is something underneath. They are not lying to others, they are lying to themselves. And that is a far more serious condition.
You are both already treating this as a problem to be fixed. I am not sure it is. A person who cannot ask for help has arrived at that place through a long process of learning what the world rewards. They are not broken. They are responding accurately to what they were shown. The question is not how to correct them. The question is whether they can see what they were actually taught and whether that teaching still serves them.
That is a very comfortable framing. The world taught me this, so I am not responsible. LAOZI, people are not leaves carried by rivers. They have the capacity to examine their assumptions and change their behavior. A person who refuses to ask for help is making a choice, even if they do not feel like they are making one. And that choice has consequences for them and for everyone around them.
Epictetus, the capacity to examine assumptions is real, but it is not unlimited. The assumptions that are easiest to examine are the ones you can already see. The ones that drive self-sufficiency to the point of isolation, those are typically formed very early, before language, before the ego had any real structure. A child who learned that needing help brought punishment or withdrawal or disappointment does not simply decide as an adult to stop believing that. The belief runs beneath the decision-making layer entirely.
And yet the belief does not force anything. It only creates a strong current. Most people who cannot ask for help are not unaware that they need it. They feel the need clearly. What they cannot tolerate is the moment between needing and asking that exposure. The current is not the problem. The fear of the current is the problem.
Good. Then we agree the fear is the thing. So let us talk about the fear honestly. What are you actually afraid of? That someone will say no? That they will see you as weak? Think that through. If someone sees you as weak for having a genuine need, what have you actually lost? Their opinion. And how much control do you have over their opinion? None. So you are protecting yourself from something you cannot control by refusing something that would actually help you. That is not strength, that is confusion.
The fear is rarely that rational, though. It is not usually a calculated assessment that says, if I ask, they may think less of me and their opinion is not in my control. It is more immediate than that. It is the body tightening. It is the throat closing before the words form. The psyche does not do cost-benefit analysis in those moments. It does pattern recognition. And the pattern it recognizes is, this is danger. You cannot argue someone out of a somatic response with a Stoic syllogism.
Jung is pointing at something real, but there is also something simpler underneath it. The person who cannot ask for help has built an identity around not needing it. Asking for help does not just feel like risk. It feels like a small death of who they believe themselves to be. That is not irrational. Identity is not a small thing to lose.
Identity built on an illusion is not worth protecting. If your sense of self depends entirely on needing nothing from anyone, then you have built yourself on sand. Every person in this room needed help to learn to walk, to learn to speak, to survive the first years of their life. Dependence is not shameful. It is the condition you were born into. The question is whether you are willing to grow up enough to acknowledge that it never actually stopped being true.
That is fair, but here is the complication. The people who most need to hear that are also the people who have the strongest internal prosecutor telling them the opposite. The inner voice that says, you should be able to handle this, you are not a child anymore, what is wrong with you? That voice is not their voice. It belongs to someone else, a parent, a culture, a very early experience. but it has been internalized so completely that it feels like the voice of reason. And when reason itself is the obstacle, telling someone to be rational does not reach them.
You are both circling the same place. One of you says, examine the choice. The other says the choice is not fully available to them. Both are true at the same time. The real question is not who is right about the mechanism. The real question is what actually loosens the grip. And I do not think it is argument. I do not think it is analysis. I think it is a single moment of asking, even badly, even with the throat tight, even expecting nothing. The act itself is the medicine, not the understanding of the act.
Now we are somewhere useful. LAOZI is right that understanding alone does not move people. I have never believed it does. I believe in practice. You cannot think your way into a new behavior. You act your way into it. If you are someone who cannot ask for help, then the only cure is to ask for help. Not when you feel ready, not when the fear has gone away. Now, in the specific situation you are avoiding right now.
But the form of the asking matters. The person who asks from a place of shame, who reaches out as though they are confessing a failure, they will experience the help itself as a wound. They will feel humiliated by the receiving of it. The inner work has to accompany the outer action, or the action reinforces the problem rather than resolving it. You ask for help, someone gives it, and you feel worse, because underneath you still believe needing help proves something terrible about you.
Then perhaps asking is not the first step. Perhaps the first step is noticing what you tell yourself in the moment before you decide not to ask. Not analyzing it, just watching it. There is a story that runs in that moment, and most people have never slowed down enough to see it clearly. If you can see the story, even once, you have a little distance from it. And distance is where choice begins.
Noticing and pausing is useful preparation. But at some point, LAOZI, you have to act. You can observe the current in the river forever. You still have to decide whether to swim.
The river does not care whether you decide. That is my point. The current continues. What changes is only your relationship to it.
And that relationship is a choice. That is my point.
What neither of you is fully accounting for is the social dimension of this. Asking for help does not happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a relationship. And strong people, particularly those who have spent years being the one others lean on, have often trained the people around them to expect nothing in return. They have made themselves indispensable. When they finally do need something, they find that no one around them knows how to give it. They have created a dynamic that punishes their own vulnerability. That is not just a personal psychological problem, that is a systemic one.
Yes, the role becomes a trap. The more reliable you are, the more you are relied upon, and the harder it becomes to be anything else. The strength was real, but it accumulated into something the person can no longer set down.
Which is exactly why you have to set it down before you are forced to. Not because vulnerability is noble, but because a person who never asks for anything is not actually in relationships. They are in transactions. And when the transaction breaks down, they find themselves alone in a way they did not plan for and cannot easily name.
There is grief in that recognition for many people. When they finally see that their self-sufficiency has kept intimacy at arm's length, that is not a comfortable discovery. It asks them to mourn something, a version of themselves they were proud of, and a kind of closeness they told themselves they did not need.
And the mourning is not a detour, it is part of the path. You cannot move through something you refuse to feel.
You can acknowledge the grief without drowning in it. You feel what is true, you see what it has cost you, and then you make a different choice. That is the whole of it.
If only it were that simple in practice, but I take your point. The recognition has to lead somewhere. Otherwise, it is just sophisticated suffering.
There is one more thing worth saying. Strong people often believe that asking for help is something they are doing to the other person, an imposition, a burden. They have never stopped to consider that being asked, being trusted with someone's real difficulty is one of the most connecting things a person can offer. The refusal to ask is also a refusal to give that to someone else.
That is the thing most people in this position have never once considered. They think they are being generous by not asking. They are actually withholding something.
It inverts the entire frame. The self-sufficient person believes their restraint is a gift to others. But others, the ones who care about them, often experience that restraint as a wall.
A wall that took years to build and will not come down in one conversation. But every time you choose not to build it a little higher, something changes.
All of this argument, and we have not said the one true thing yet. You have heard the debate. Now hear something simpler.
The reason strong people do not ask for help is not that they do not need it. It is that they have learned very early that needing things was not safe. Somewhere along the way, a message got in. Maybe it came from a parent who was overwhelmed. Maybe it came from a situation that required you to grow up fast. Maybe it came from being praised so consistently for your competence that the need underneath was never allowed a voice. The message was, handle it yourself. And you did, and it worked. And you became someone people rely on. And now you are here, genuinely in need, and the same system that protected you is blocking you. Here is what is actually true. Asking for help is not a confession of weakness. It is an act of honesty about what is real. The people around you do not see you as more capable because you never ask. They see you as more distant. The self-sufficiency you have protected is not a virtue. It is a habit, and like any habit, it can be examined. Today, try this. Think of one thing you are currently carrying alone that someone in your life could genuinely help with. Not a crisis, something ordinary. And before the end of today, ask. Not with an explanation of why it is okay for you to ask. Not with an apology, just ask the thing. Watch what happens, not just to the situation, but to the space between you and the person you asked.
You have built something impressive out of not needing anyone. Look at it honestly. It kept you safe, and it kept you alone. And those were not two separate outcomes. The question is not whether you are strong. You are. The question is whether the strength is still serving you, or whether it has become the cage. There is one person in your life who has been waiting for you to let them in. You already know who it is. That is where you start. If today's conversation has served you, take it further. Pay Attention by C. Trabue, 12 Lessons in the Practice of Seeing Clearly. Available now on Amazon.